When I was a child, I loved to entertain, telling jokes, singing songs, dancing about. Aunts and uncles would often request, "My name is Shirley Temple and I have curly hair." Even the pickle lady would give us extra pickles for a yearly serenade, along with a box of Smarties to satisfy my inherent sweet tooth. My dad is quite the jokester. Back then, he used to say that I should go on the radio so he could turn it off. Lo and behold, I had my first radio show when I was only 8 years old with my friend Marley. We would act out commercials, the news, weather, jingles. We'd even have music between segments where her band, the Wolverines, would howl out verses into the night. Those cassettes are in a safe spot to be spun again one day. Years later, I also ended up on a morning show fresh out of college with the Kicks Outlaw Morning Crew on Kicks 105.3 FM. A lot of fun stories to share there as well, all in due time. I've been pretty busy the past few years. Being a single mom, running 2 home businesses, working toward my second album, and then last year, some of my friends and I started an online newspaper called Sterkte. You can check it out at sterkte.ca. It's an online magazine in celebration of the arts. We'll be coming out with a second issue in a few months. We highlighted a podcast in our knick-knack section last year, and since then, I thought it would be super to have my own podcast. But life happens, and that idea got tucked away to stew on until, well, it was time, as all things do. And then it dawned on me at 5 a.m. a couple weekends ago that I had a huge desire to create one based on life stories, a mix of my stories and yours. Also, I want to highlight some of my favorite music-making, storytelling friends. That same day, I messaged my dear friend Jessie, whom I worked with for 5 years at a print shop, side by side. He knows pretty much, well, maybe not all my stories, but probably the majority of them. And he's probably heard them a few times over. Would you say, Jessie?
2 or 3 times, probably, I'd say.
Yeah. So, Jessie, when I called you that day, was it the day before that you were just researching podcasts?
Yeah, like the day before, I got in my mind, well, maybe I should see what's all involved in making a podcast. So I did some Googling, and here we are.
It's just crazy and so synchronistic to me and so fitting because, well, that happens often, doesn't it, with us?
Yeah, sure does.
When we worked along, what's that?
I was going to say probably because we sat side by side and then stared at each other in the eyes afterwards for a couple of years when they moved our desks.
Thank goodness they moved our desks. Like for the first 3 years, we just stared at a wall. I mean, we could print anything we wanted to. We probably should have printed a vista of a huge window, but then that would be been quite the teaser as we sat there. You were pretty quiet too when I first started. Yeah.
Still am a little bit. But
you're still a little quiet, but it was kind of my motivation to, it's like you were quiet and I was like, I got to sit by this guy and I know I'm going to be here for a while because of the benefits. And I mean, you were one of the benefits too, Jessie, but, I don't know. I kind of am always challenged when people say, oh, my cat doesn't like people. It's always my challenge to try to get that cat to like me. And not to say you were like a cat. Anyway, I loved seeing our friendship blossom. Remember the time I accidentally texted you from the bathroom? I was texting my friend Jessica that I loved her.
And then you walked out of the washroom and I said, I love you too.
Oh, that was so great. It was so much fun. And as soon as Stefan turned our desk toward each other, it was like this kind of like kapow moment where I went, oh my goodness, this is a radio show.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of got tired of listening to the radio, didn't we?
Yeah, same thing over and over and over and over.
Yeah, yeah. So then we just started telling more stories and scheming one day about maybe doing something of this nature, which is pretty cool that it's coming to fruition now. And through those 5 years, you used to joke about the fact that you would go home and write down every story because you were working on my biography one day. And now, is this not an easier way?
Yeah, it's definitely easier now. I just have to listen to the stories one more time.
Yeah, and then rein me in, and get me back on track, which is fantastic. Remember we worked with Rob there?
Yep.
And he said after hearing my story one time of one of my jobs when I worked for a charter airline out west in Calgary, I think I was talking about the times I checked in Bryan Adams and Whoopi Goldberg and would go up and fly in gliders. One time we flew to Seattle on a Learjet last minute in an hour. I actually still have my Seattle sweater from that trip. Anyway, one weekend also we took the helicopter downtown to have lunch in Calgary, and I walked off the steps of the helicopter and I had this leopard printed scarf over my head, like Marilyn Monroe with big fancy sunglasses and red lipstick. Yeah, picture that, huh? And I think it was like 28 years old, maybe. No, I was younger than that, 25. And I remember I kind of flipped my scarf over my shoulder and walked all fancy like out of this helicopter. And this one girl ran up to me and she looked at me and she went, "Who are you?" And I laughed and I tilted my sunglasses and I looked at her and I went, "I'm Rita Visser." And then I continued to laugh again. I said, "No, actually, I'm really not anyone important." My entourage with me loved that story. So we do stuff like that all the time, or sometimes fly into the foothills, because the helicopter had a glass floor.
Okay.
Believe it or not. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes I was the luckiest person in the world to have these wild experiences and stories. And I remember sharing it at the printing house, some of these, when I first started there. And Rob, he just looked at me one day while he's cutting paper, trimming up posters. And he said, "What the heck are you doing in Welland?" He said, "You've been everywhere. You've done everything." He goes, "I don't even understand why you're here." Anyway, that was quite funny to me. And I am happy to be here. I love Welland. It's all well and good, right? Anyways, this is going to be a lot of fun, Jesse. I'm excited to hear some of your family stories too.
Oh, there's many.
You do go to your grandma's and check in with her.
Oh, yeah. And I can tell you lots of stories from our trip to Disney World one time.
Oh, really? Well, that'll be fantastic. Okay. I mean, I know we're still figuring out some segments here as it goes. I was thinking that, you used to say I can ramble on about anything. Maybe you can even just have a hat, where you put story ideas for Rita to ramble on about. We just pick it out of a hat. It could be interesting.
It could be. Even if you don't have a story, you can make something up.
I'll just make something up about it.
Who are we to know?
Exactly. But I think one of the best stories at the printing house was the day that you drove back for a Christmas party, because you were always off at Christmas time, which sometimes I was like, I know he's been here like 10 years, but I'd like a Christmas off, But, it was great that you made an appearance this particular one day.
Through a blizzard, uphill both ways.
Because Stefan promised a good Christmas party. And that Christmas party consisted of him walking in a little bit of a flurry, literally, I guess. And he unwrapped a sandwich. And he split it 4 ways. And I think we got to leave early that day. That was our Christmas party. Yeah. I don't know. I guess it doesn't seem like the best story right now.
You had to be there, I guess.
Yeah, I had to be there, though. So that is a little bit of our history, everybody, for you folks. Jesse is going to be my fact checker along with Beckham. He'll bring me in, and we're just going to kibitz about and see where it goes. Now, back to the day I had this idea and I texted you. After that, after the show dawned on me, that same day, I also put a message out to my dear friend Tiffany to let her know, as she's always one of my biggest supporters for my creative visions. We started Stekta off on a whim, just like this, and we collected quite the stellar team along the way. Anyway, when I reached out to her to excitedly share this podcast vision, seconds later, her son Becca messages me. So I hear you're starting a podcast, he says. I knew in that moment he wanted to be a part of it. And I was so excited because secretly I had hoped that he would want to. I love the way his brain works. And he's one of those brilliant sort of prodigy children. He's 16 years old now. When he was 15, right, Beckham, you started your first business?
Yeah, daunting as it is.
Yeah, you're one of my inspirations, I tell ya. Anyway, Beckham, it's so great to have you along for the ride. And thanks for helping, because honestly, the next day, Beckham sent me a list of show ideas. Like this huge, Google spreadsheet of ideas and names, and Yore Stories was one of them. And I thought that was great. And then Jesse expanded upon it. And because you like video games and it reminds you of the days of yore, right? I think that it takes a team to build an idea. You can't just do anything alone in life. And so I think it's fantastic that we're all here together and bringing this vision to life, and we'll see where it's going to go. So I'm so super grateful to have you guys here. So we've introduced the team. I've told you a little bit about the concept. And so I want to welcome you to Yore Stories. I will be interviewing some of my favorite storytellers I have met through this wild walk of life. The list is growing daily. Each show I will conclude with one of my dearest music-making storytelling friends. Today's guest is the lovely Emily Andrews to share one of her original songs with you all. She may even tell you the story of her dad running her over with a car, or why she hates watermelons. Who hates watermelons? I'm sorry, Emily. I get it. You don't like the pits. Guy doesn't either.
You can get ones without seeds.
That is true.
Wait, what?
You didn't know?
Yeah. They don't have those in Thunder Bay.
That doesn't make any sense.
Maybe they don't have those in Thunder Bay.
They just don't have seeds?
No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
It's a Southern Ontario thing, I guess.
Science
we're fancy
or magic or something. They grow them.
Well, I've seen the square watermelons.
That's just they put them in a square thing to grow.
Yeah.
But these ones, they don't have seeds.
They're genetically engineered to not have seeds.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think we're gonna have to look into that.
Weird.
Get on that. Anywho, I love the saying, a picture tells 1,000 stories. So, to start off each show, my guests and I will start our conversation by sharing of a photograph. You can see today's photograph on our Instagram page. What's our Instagram page again, guys?
Yore Stories PC. That's the handle for Twitter, Instagram, and all
Yeah,
that.
and that doesn't mean President's Choice. That's podcast. So Your Stories PC on Instagram, aka popcorn. So this particular photo is one of my absolute favorites of my mom. It's her as a little girl with an accordion in hand. And this story always makes me laugh. And I'm sure it will put a smile on your face. Each episode, I will share some Rita stories with you to start, like the story of my grandfather riding a moose. Jesse, you've heard that one before?
I think I've heard that one about 5 times.
And now we might actually get the proper story, right? Because you know how everything just kind of changes through time, right?
Mm-hmm.
The game of telephone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to actually even hopefully interview some aunts and uncles to get their perspective of certain family stories, which will be interesting. Mm-hmm.
Could cause some family drama.
It could. And you're going to have to write down who said what, because, yeah, I mean, family drama, what's that? Has anybody ever had family drama? I think every family has drama. Anyway, yeah, who knows where this will go. But I really am hoping to become a better storyteller through this journey by sharing mine and hearing the stories of others. I cannot wait to deeply connect with some old friends too. I'd love to have a segment where I just call an old friend. I've been quite a hermit through the past few years while raising my daughter, and it's time to step out of my shell. Even though my mom is one of my favorite storytellers of all time, it was really hard for me to decide between my folks who I was going to have on first. They are both fantastic storytellers. I like to say I come from a line of bootleg and fishermen referred to as the pirates of the North on one side and the Dutch Christian Reformed farmers on the other.
It's quite the combination.
It's an interesting combination. And to top it off, I was raised on an island. Yeah, I tell people that explains me a little bit. And I often like to say that I'm a little wild, but I have my morals. So in the future, you will hear my dad's stories of the old country, Holland, as he recounts his childhood like no other. I can't believe how he can remember stories.
Mm-hmm.
He came here as a 10-year-old boy speaking another language with a family of 8 kids. At one point, they all shared a one-room shack with no running water. My dad remembers playing alleys on the slanted floor. When he tells me about it, I actually feel I can hear the sound of the marble rolling. My grandparents, they were heroes to me, truly. Such hardships back then, and they all endured. So it's quite an inspiration to hear some of these stories during this time for us. But again, those are stories for another episode. Often my mom would allow me to fall asleep on her lap when friends were over. She knew I liked to be a fly on the wall. I'll never forget the deep sound of her voice, her echoing laughter in my ear as I would drift off to sleep. Hearing her tales of being raised on the island, like the time Arvo set forth into the rough waters with his husky and a bottle of whiskey, never to return. So let's dive in and have you meet my mom, my rock, and the woman I giggle with more than any other. Welcome to the show, Mom, Susan Norma Gerow-Visser. Hey, Mom. Thanks for being my first guest on the show.
Oh, you're welcome.
This podcast really wouldn't be happening without you, would it?
No, I don't think so. I'm the only mom you got.
You really are. Thank goodness. Speaking of moms, we're going to be releasing this on Mother's Day. So I'm going to wish you a happy Mother's Day right now. So basically, Mother's Day has started for you right now.
Well, thank you.
That doesn't mean you're going to get a gift every day, though, Mom.
Okay. Well, happy Mother's Day to you, too.
Oh, right. Do I get a gift every day?
No.
Aw, having you as a mom is gift enough.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah. Well, Mom, you really are the best mom a gal could have. Even though you may not think so, you are one of my favorite storytellers that I have met in this life. So this is why you are my first guest.
Perfect.
Yeah. So every episode, my guest and I will review a photograph of their past. If you visit our Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, I believe the handle is at Yore Stories PC for all of them. Is that correct, boys?
That would be correct.
Excellent. So you'll see a photo on our Instagram page highlighting my mom playing the accordion as a wee little girl. It's the cutest picture. And I've told this story about your accordion lessons over the years. I don't know if I've told it correctly. I probably have my own little embellishments as that happens. So, Mom, you know which photo I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Yes. That was your own accordion?
Yes. Well, it was my sister's, and then she stopped playing it, and it was handed down to me.
Oh, it was beautiful. A white, white
it was
keys?
white ivory, yeah. But I took dance lessons, and I loved dancing, but Mom wouldn't drive. She didn't have a car to drive me to Fort Williams, so I ended up doing the accordion, so I wasn't too happy with it.
Oh, so you actually didn't really like going to your lessons? Is that right then?
No, I wanted to dance instead of playing the accordion. But anyways,
Well, you are a good dancer, and I'm glad that we have lots of moments dancing together during Bird and Cumming songs, usually.
I know.
So the funny thing about the accordion lessons, I remember you telling me that after your parents would drop you off, I don't think this started right away, but you weren't completely entirely into it, and your teacher had picked up on that.
So what happened was that the teacher's name was Roy Karan, and he was part of a big band back in the days. He had like the brass and the drums and everything, the trumpets, and he would teach on the side. So I don't think he was really a happy teacher, but also I wasn't the best student. And a couple times, my parents never dropped me off. We took the bus down there in those days. And he gave me a quarter, and he said, "Here, kid, go get yourself a hot dog and just don't tell your parents." So I did.
Instead of having a lesson.
Yeah. Well, I guess he must have been frustrated with me or frustrated with himself. Who knows what was going on in his life, but every once in a while, he'd give me a quarter to go get some food.
Like, would you even start a lesson, or you just would not have a lesson at all?
No, he'd start.
But it would be a very quick lesson?
Sometimes, yeah.
And then you would just go, okay.
I'd go to the store and get a hot dog and kill some time, and then I'd go home and I'd go catch the bus and go home.
So basically, he got paid from your parents to give you a quick little lesson. Your parents thought it was longer.
Yeah.
And you would get a hot dog out of it. So it's a win-win for you, right?
It was. And I did learn a few songs.
Actually, I remember you told me this past year because, well, I picked up an accordion at an antique shop last spring. And you came over and I was surprised. You played a song. What song was that? My Bonnie Lassie? Or
My Bonnie Lassie. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I actually played it on, we used to have three theaters in town. And on Saturday, they used to have once a month, it was called School of the Air. And that's where kids could go and sing or tap dance or play an instrument. And I actually played My Bonnie Lassie on stage when I was 11.
Mom, at that time, you also could have just tap danced while you were playing
I
it.
could have. That's what I'd prefer to do. Yeah.
Wouldn't that have been great? You know, then
I know.
that might have been your calling.
Well, actually, it went with the song because one of the dances I learned as a young girl was Dance of the Wooden Soldiers.
Oh, geez. That would be a very intense dance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's my accordion playing, and I used to play for our neighbors once in a while.
Aw. Well, Mom, I can lend you my accordion if you're bored during lockdown, because, well, this
No, I'd still rather dance.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I am impressed. I wanted to throw this out there for everyone that we are doing this show remotely because it is lockdown, and I'm very proud of you, Mom, for troubleshooting and figuring out, even though your computer didn't work, that here we are still recording from your phone. So well done.
Thank you.
Pardon me. So you have had a very adventurous life. You grew up on an island on Lake Superior, raised with a tough commercial fishing family, along with 3 brothers and 1 sister. I told a friend, not too long ago, that I was a Gerow. Half Gerow. And he laughed and he told me that apparently we are referred to as the Pirates of the North. I really liked that. It made me proud and I was not surprised. You can man a boat like there's no tomorrow, tie fisherman's knots, gut a fish within seconds. You always know where north is. You can predict when a storm is coming, and you always carry a knife in your purse. You're one tough cookie, probably one of the toughest souls I know. But so I'd love to talk about the island. You grew up on an island on Lake Superior, and I just love hearing stories about that time for you. And I'd like the world to kind of know and get a sense of what it is like growing up on an island as a child. I mean, you were there all summers. It wasn't during the winter, right?
Yeah, I was 5 weeks old the first time I set foot on the island. And that was because I was a spring baby and Dad had to get out and fish.
Wow.
So that was the start of I was 5 weeks old and my mother didn't nurse us. So I ended up being a very sick baby, I guess. I must have been lactose intolerant. But I used to remember stories, my aunts and my grandfather, when they were alive, always taking turns rocking me and trying to feed me and everything because I was just a miserable kid, I guess. Or I was sick, I guess.
And wasn't there, like, you didn't have a lot of milk there because you couldn't refrigerate. So you said you were raised on barley?
No, carnation milk.
Well, carnation milk.
And that didn't agree with me, because it would stay in the cans and they would dilute it. Mom diluted it. But it ended up I wasn't gaining any weight. So my grandmother, who was out at the island also, and her husband had a big fishing outfit. Anyway, she boiled barley water, and that's what I drank, and that's when I started putting weight on. So,
and that's what made you healthier.
Mm-hmm.
To run around the island and explore, and I mean, you were pretty much born a fish. What kinds of things at the island did you do as a child? Well,
we played a lot. We played in out in in nature. Actually, my mom was petrified of the water, so they had us actually penned up in this huge big tent. Not a tent; it was like a big fishing net, like from a pond net. And they basically had us caged in, but of course we went underneath it, right? That would be fun to sneak away for a while and then would run back in. Dad made swings and stuff, but we were never supposed to go by the water without an adult, right? So we did a lot of that kind of stuff.
I mean, that's probably when you were toddlers, right?
No, when we were toddlers, they tied us. Well, mom had to do the wash and the laundry. It was out on the dock, the old wringer washing machine, and they got the hot water from the boat engine because water cools an engine. So basically, that's how they did the laundry, and it was always out in the dock. So they would just tie us up, and we had enough lead that we could, play and stuff. We never minded.
Did they ever, miscalculate the length of the rope and you'd end up in the water? I mean,
no, they never did that. But I know my brother, Jack, was always a little brat. He would always try to go on the dock. He was sneaky. He would try to go on the dock, and I remember him falling in one time, and my dad let him go down 2 times before he let him come back up again, and he was little.
Oh boy, that Uncle Jack, otherwise known as Bim.
Yeah. Well, he was named after a song that was on the radio. Bimbo was his name.
Really?
Yeah, but I'll never forget that because I thought, isn't Dad going to grab him? And,
Yeah, I guess it was a pretty tough, I mean, I loved Grandpa Mel, but he was intimidating. If I grabbed that CB radio when I wasn't supposed to, which I sometimes did, he would not be happy. So there were rules at the island back then, hence the cage, I guess. Eh, Mom? Like
there was always a lot of rules because you had to stay safe.
Yeah.
And you had to follow the rules because, you could drown, right?
Right. And then at that time, well, it's a very intimidating lake. There were many people that went out to the sea. I remember the story of Arvo, and he never returned. What is your recollection of that story, Mom?
Arvo was fishing with a fellow named Alpo, and it was in October with moose hunting season. There were a lot of all men out of the island, and there was some fishing, there was some drinking, saunas, whatever. But anyways,
wait, Mom, because Grandpa had a big crew, right, of people that worked for him, or it was his dad's?
No, it was just because it was hunting season, and it was time, and he would invite everybody wanted to go out to the island because the hunting was so good all around.
Okay.
They didn't hunt on the island. They went to different islands and ran them and whatever. But anyways, Arvo was fishing, and he caught a bunch of whitefish, and he had about 500 pounds in I think about an 18-foot aluminum boat. And it was so rough that the fellas were saying, Arvo, don't go, just go tomorrow. Bring your fish in tomorrow. But the fellow that was out with him for the weekend he said, no, my wife and I are supposed to go to a party. And so Arvo and Alpo took off with 500 pounds of fish, and they went across Black Bay. You got to remember it was October on Lake Superior, and I guess it blew up, and the waves knocked the boat, and the 500 pounds of fish must have shifted.
Yeah.
And they were in snowsuits, skidoo suits. That's how cold it is. Oh, my
goodness. And those waters are cold on the hottest summer day.
Yeah. So they never did find them. The search and rescue said it was too rough to go out and hunt for them. They will do it the next day when my brother Ron phoned, and Ronnie said, what are you talking about? They won't be alive. So Ronnie went in his boat, and he said all he saw was some floorboards and some oil up on the, on the water, right? But we never ever found neither of them. And the wife and her 9-year-old son were standing on the dock in Pass Lake waiting for her husband to come home.
No, that's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some wild stories as a child. And I remember even Uncle Ronnie, he used to tell us the stories of the tale of the three sisters, the waves that would come one right after the other. I don't know if he embellished that, but I'm sure he didn't. There's been a lot of shipwrecks and uncertainty.
That's a marine tale that there's always the third wave will seem to get you, the three sisters they called them, right? But that's been quoted in many books and in about the oceans and the seas and the lakes and stuff. And it's not always necessarily true, but they do call the three sisters. When you get hit by them, it's very dangerous because they're all different heights, right?
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, that's really great to know, because that's something, I mean, you hear that story as a kid, and the picture of the waves in your mind when you're a kid. And then, Mom, didn't we have a day where I got to see waves sort of like that firsthand? Remember when we were heading to the island? And it was probably, one of the most horrific days of my life. But I actually wasn't completely thinking that we were in as much danger, because I remember looking at your face and realizing my mom has this, as she had the wheel to our boat at the time, the Rita, and it was, well, can you explain the boat? Because I never get measurements right, but it was a tiny little motorboat.
Well, it was a 17 and a half foot fiberglass, and it had a tri-hull, sort of the tri-hull, so it was pretty wide.
And it was open bow.
Open bow rider. It wasn't covered up.
It wasn't covered up at the time, because I think Sherry and I.
No.
So this is to paint the picture for everybody.
But it had a big motor on it. It was overpowered, thank goodness, because I needed to use that.
So to paint the picture, here we are at Grandma and Grandpa's, who they were in Black Bay at their trailer, and we would usually launch from there to take off to the island, and we would radio out to the island to see if it was calm over there. But there's this little bit after you get out of the bay into the open water that's unpredictable always, right, Mom?
Right, because it's so shallow, and the wind comes from the outside and the inside, and it's just shallow. It's sort of a treacherous crossing. But to get to the island from Black Bay is about 9 miles, so yeah.
Wow. And I remember all of a sudden, Sherry and I were only there with you. Dad wasn't there, and our dog Rebel. And we had our supplies, and we thought it was calm waters. And then all of a sudden things shifted, and we were your mates on the boat. You were telling us what to do. We just listened. At one point, I think the waves got so high that it felt like our boat was vertical to me as a kid. And you couldn't even see over the window. You had to sit on the back of your chair. Do you remember that, Mom?
Yeah, but we weren't vertical, but it was, as a kid, I could see that.
I know. Well, that's the way how I feels, right? When I tell the story.
But it was just, you had to judge the waves, and there was no turning back because it was an open bow rider. Because even I asked my dad, well, what does the bay look like? And he said, well, if it gets bad, just turn back. And I thought, no, if I hit a wave wrong, we're capsized. So I just went head on into the waves, and I had enough power to slack off when I needed to, and then ride up top the wave and then slack off again. So, but I learned that as a kid because we fished with my dad, right? But anyways, we made it, and everything was fine. And
I remember looking back at one point when it was like the climax of everything, and I could see our dog Rebel on one of the back chairs. I turned around, and the dog was smart enough to put its legs around the bottom of the chair leg to hold itself so he didn't slide, or she didn't slide.
She had her legs wrapped around my leg at one point.
See how we recall things differently?
Yeah, and you girls had your life jackets on, and you were just upset because I didn't have a life jacket on. You kept saying, "Mom, put your life jacket on." And
Why didn't you have a life jacket on, stubborn?
No, because they're bulky. But
Jesus,
I didn't have time to put a life jacket on then. But
I guess I should have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild. And I remember as soon as we got to calm water, you just said, and through the whole time, you didn't panic. You did not panic. You don't panic under trauma, which is...
No, you shouldn't.
And I just looked at you and I was like, well, we're not going to die. My mom's got this. And as soon as we were in calm waters, I just remember this overflowing feeling of silence and calm. And then you just said, girls, get me a beer. And I'll never forget, you sat back down from the back of the seat, you cracked your beer open, and you lit a cigarette. And I went, whoa, that's my mom. So, yeah, you've definitely been a captain, in my opinion, through the years. And boy, I mean, there was a lot of wild stories, tragic stories, and there were also a lot of good stories out there. I mean, Grandma was just a lovely bit of inspiration continually, in my opinion. I remember that you used to often recite little snippets of inspiration from her, like, you know, always smell the flowers or always eat the strawberries, that sort of thing. And you have a lot of good little sayings.
Never say whoa in a bad spot. That's why you keep going when it gets rough.
Oh, never say whoa in a bad spot. I haven't heard that one before. I'm so excited. I'm doing this podcast. This is perfect. And what about Mammy? Mammy had some good things to say too. And this was your great grandma, right?
This was my great grandma. And my mother was from Ashland, Wisconsin. She was an American.
Mm-hmm. I knew that.
Her grandmother, Pauline Lacey, she used to come and live with us, usually for a month or two every year. Because Ashland was 3.5, 4 hours away from Thunder Bay. So we'd go and pick her up, and my mom was very close to her cousins and her siblings, right? So we always made the trip to Ashland a couple times a year.
So you really got to know her.
And I spent a couple months, a couple summers there staying with my great grandmother. And I remember what was really cool was I wasn't Catholic, but we went to the Catholic church, and she always had these beads and she prayed on these rosaries and stuff. And as a kid, I thought that was the coolest thing. And you had to bend down and kneel, and you had to put your hand in the water. And it was something really strange. But
outside of that cage, I mean, come on. Whoa, what's happening now?
Mammy was a really big inspiration in my life. She had been through a lot, and she was a strong, tough woman. And she never, ever was, she's not material at all. Any time Mom bought her something nice for Christmas, which she did every year, like slippers or a house coat or whatever, we'd go to see her or pick her up, and Mom would say, what'd you do with your slippers? And she said, my old ones are better. I gave them to so-and-so.
Aww.
She bought day-old bread. She made, she knew how to stretch $1 because she was from First World War, Second World War Depression, right?
Yeah.
And
I think,
I learned a lot from her.
And you did pass on a lot. You've helped me. That's all helped me get through this pandemic. That's for sure. See? But we're not supposed to go there on this show.
No.
But so what are some of the favorite things then that you remember Mammy saying? Who's the one that used to say, shit in one hand, wish in the other, and see what piles up the fastest.
Well, my mother told me that. My mother told me that because she used to. I used to say, I wish I had this, I wish I did that, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And she just said, well, Sue, shit in one hand. And anyways, that was from her mother. That was from her mother.
Okay, that's a whole other side. So what about Mammy then? What are some of the favorite things that you remember her saying?
I just remember her always being calm and giving to other people and strict.
Right.
And she never said too much to me, but I know it would be laying in her little apartment, and I'd look over sometimes, and I was like 9, 10, 11 years old when I was there. And I'd look over, and she'd just be looking at me and just a big smile on her face.
Oh, beautiful.
I was her great-granddaughter, and she was just a very good woman, but tough.
Yeah. So is she the one that used to say then, it's a hell of a good life if you're strong enough?
No, she wouldn't say that because she was a good Catholic. It was my mother's mother.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So now I'm getting the story, which is
And the reason she said that was she was widowed at 33 with 5 children in the Depression in the dirty 30s. So she had a tough life.
33, widowed, 5 children.
Yeah. In the Depression.
So
she was tough. And I remember asking her, Grandma, how do you survive? And she said, well, you just have to be tough enough.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I heard some of her stories. I come from a long line of pretty strong women.
Yeah, well, that explains you. That's for sure. And I also find like coming from a line of strong women is inherent, but I also think that there's a lot of strength just even being surrounded by nature, growing up by nature. I feel like when I get down and I go by the water's edge, it tends to inspire me, fuel me. I know that as a child, you would always bring us to the water to relax or think or ponder, right?
That's right. Yeah, because it is calming. It is calming. We come from water. We're in a water bath in our mom's tummies. It's the most calming place. That's why most people, the majority of people, unless you got a major fear of it, are drawn to water.
Remember feeding the seagulls, Mom, together? You would bring us there often.
I had a pet seagull when I was younger.
What? Oh, I do remember that. Can you tell us about that?
My sister had one and I had one. We were fishing with my dad one day. We fished when we were really young, and we'd go at about 5 in the morning, and we'd come home at about 3 in the afternoon on the boat, and we'd lift the nets with Dad because we were the 2 oldest, and the boys were too young to go fishing yet. So Nancy, who's 4 years older than me, and then myself, we would go fishing. And one day, I guess it was calm enough to go on this rock, and Dad said, do you girls want a pet seagull? And of course we said, yeah, we want a pet seagull. So he says, okay, so you've got to grab them and run like hell and come right back to the boat. So he didn't tell us.
Were they baby seagulls?
Yeah.
That you were grabbing?
It was a rock in the middle of the lake, and there were all kinds of seagulls on that rock. And he failed to tell us that those seagulls will dive bomb us because we were stealing their babies, right? So we did. We ran like hell, and we jumped in the boat, and we each had a pet seagull. And when we got back to the island, they couldn't fly yet, right? We put chicken wire half in the water and half on the beach. And that's where we kept Captain and Matey.
Captain and Matey?
Those were our seagulls' names, yeah.
Which one was yours?
Captain.
Captain? Oh, yeah. I love that story. And so how tiny then? They must have been pretty tiny.
No, they're pretty big. They were pretty big already, but they couldn't fly. So they were size of a little seagull, right? Like the little ones from the ocean, not the big ones we have in the big lake. But
Right.
yeah.
And were they brown and spotted? Because the baby
They were brown,
seagulls.
yeah. They were brown, and we played with them. We fed them fish. Of course, they were happy seagulls, but then they took off when they could fly. They just took off because there was no top on them. It wasn't like a cage, right? It was just so that they couldn't swim away. And,
Right.
I can't remember how long we had them, but I always used to think that my seagull would follow me to town when we went to our house in town. If I saw a seagull in the backyard, I thought that was mine, but that was just a kid's dream, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I love that story. That's a great story, Mom. I haven't heard that story. You had other animals on the island as pets when they would, during hunting time, right? Because Grandpa would find animals without Mom.
Sometimes they just found them. I don't know the story. I was pretty young. I see the pictures of a bear in one of our carriages, a cub. I don't know how that happened or where they got the cub from, but there was a cub on the island at one time. And then there was a baby moose on the island that one of my uncles tried to feed. I guess the mother died or something, and they tried to feed the moose, but he fed it the wrong thing, I guess, and the moose died. But yeah, we've had the bear, we've had a baby moose, and we sometimes would get porcupines swimming across, and then we'd have to chase them off the island because there were a lot of kids on the island, right?
Yeah, you didn't want that.
No.
I remember Grandma also had foxes. She would feed the foxes, and she'd call them Foxy.
Yeah, that was
every year.
In Pass Lake, though, not in the island. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. But so speaking of moose, there is an epic story that I have told several times about Grandpa riding a moose. And I probably haven't gotten it completely accurate. So what is your memory of hearing that story?
My memory is that I just heard the story just like you because, I was young, but him and another fellow were in a boat, and they were in, I think, Pike Channel or whatever channel they were in. And I guess as young men, they just thought, oh, this would be fun. And Dad jumped on the moose. He used to ride horses when he was a kid. He told me they used to go and ride horses from the milk and the bread man. They had a stable down when they lived in town in Port Arthur.
He actually told me that too, Mom. He told me that in Port Arthur, when there were no houses, there were just fields, and he would ride his horse through the fields. So, okay, getting back to Pike Channel, he jumped.
So he just jumped on the moose, and it was a lot of fun until the moose started to hit the bottom, and he started running, and Dad wasn't smart enough to get off. He got scared, and he started hanging on. And I guess finally the moose, he hit the bush, and I guess the bush finally just rubbed Dad off. He got, so
right,
I guess he got a few scratches in his episode and a good story to tell, but I don't think he ever rode any more moose.
Yeah, I don't think you would after that, would you?
No.
Yeah. No. Oh, I love that story. That's a good one. So, Mom, you're a beautiful artist. Okay, that's an affirmation. I know. Side note, we had a little meeting and my mom wanted me to not give her affirmations anymore, but
God, who am I? The halo is starting to really blind me here.
Gear down, Big Rig. Gear down. We're keeping that in. I'm sorry. You're an okay artist. Mom, you see the world differently. You've taught me the law of thirds. You decorate your living room. I grew up as like your picture hanger, where you would redo the living room. It felt like monthly.
I think I did. I used to get bored, and I just would think, okay, that's not sitting right with me. That Needs to be a little closer, a little bit further. I've always had a good eye for design.
Yeah, you really have. And you taught me that, and it could be why I chose that field as well.
That's true.
And I loved going to painting classes with you. We should really start that back up again when the world opens up again. You are a fantastic artist, and I'm just going to say that because I've watched the transformation. I mean, there were some images, of course, like the oil painting of your self-portrait that reminded me of Beavis and Butthead's mom, and it would scare me. And you didn't like it either, and you'd keep it under the stairs in Roslyn Village. And
you know why I kept it there? You know why I kept it there?
Why?
Because Dad, when I painted my father, Mel, he came into my house one time, and I had that picture, that self-portrait of me, and he came in one time, he hated it. He said, "You look like my old mean aunt." And he said, "You look just like her." And he came in one day with a picture, and he said, "Put this one up and take that one down." I can't stand it. So
that is sad, Mom. That's a sad story.
Not really. I thought it was funny at the time.
Well, okay. Well, that's good. I mean, we do come from a sarcastic family where we have to get over stuff like that. Otherwise, we'd be in major therapy.
But the thing is, my aunt, I guess, when you do a self-portrait, I was just learning, if you don't put the right side of your face on the right side because you're looking through a mirror, your face goes, you put the wrong side of your face on because if you split your face in half, you'll see one side's different than the other, right?
Right.
Yeah, the average person's. And I transferred the wrong side to the wrong face. But because I looked like his aunt, there was bloodlines there too. So, you know. Right.
Yeah. And obviously it would bring back a memory. And for me, it horrified me. So you would ask me to go downstairs to get the pickles because I had a wild imagination as a kid.
All right. That's where I put my aunt.
That's where you put your aunt. So I would see this picture just staring at me like, ah! I'm like, oh, scary mom. That's not my mom. And I'd run back up the stairs. I grew up watching you sketch the North Shore. I would be in awe of just watching you with the eraser, and you'd have lead all over your hands, and you'd be sketching trees in and landscapes and old boats. You had so many sketches of old boats. Man, you really have a lot of paintings and sketches of boats that have been washed ashore, don't you, Mom?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Yes, I love water and I love boats. So that's my genre, I guess. I've done all kinds of different things too, but I still gravitate towards nature scenes, I guess.
Yeah, and I feel like nobody really does paint a landscape like you. I was fortunate enough to learn some painting skills with you, and I remember we would go and paint watercolors together, which I'd like to get back into after the world opens up again. But when did you start sketching?
I think I started when I used to work in the bush camps. So I would have been 18. And I remember just one day sitting there looking at all the men after a hard day's work of cutting trees down and everything. They were all sitting on these long benches by this old building after supper having their smokes, right? And I thought that would be a really nice sketch. I wonder if I can do it. And I remember that was my first sketch, actually.
Really? Do you still have it somewhere?
I doubt it. I had it for years because your first day, you sort of hang on to it, but I doubt it. But I can still picture it in my mind's eye. I can still see them sitting there. And then I sort of just left it for a while. And I took a course with Coralie Romano in Thunder Bay, oil painting course. And then I just started from there when you and Sherry were really, really young.
I remember you sketched one of our well in our front yard with all of the beautiful trees around. And then you found your medium. You always said you didn't find your right medium until you started painting with watercolors, right?
Well, I wanted to try watercolors. I loved the look of it. But I always thought in my mind, well, when I get really good at oils, I'll try watercolors. And I never thought I was getting good enough at oil. And I thought I may as well just try it because, And so that was one of the reasons. And the other reason was it didn't have turpentine and oils and all that smell. Watercolor is very easy to take with you, and it's less toxic than oils. So that's when I started doing watercolors.
I love that you're also teaching your grandchildren some techniques of painting as well. And I think, well, we've all joined your art club, and we look forward to coming to art class.
That'd be great.
With you after this is all done.
I did do art when I was working at Creighton, when I was working with young offenders. They actually bought me, I talked to one of the bosses, and they bought me supplies, and I would teach the kids art. And it was really successful because a lot of those kids had a lot of emotions in them that, needed to get out. And they got so engrossed in the watercolor that some of them more than others, some got really frustrated, which wasn't good. But I really enjoyed teaching them because they all were so proud of their little piece that they did. They hung it up in their bedrooms,
I'm a huge advocate of healing through the arts. And I think that, just having that form of expression is so important.
For sure. Music and art. Yeah.
Definitely. We grew up in Roslyn Village. We spent the summers on an island. We had horses in our backyard, a huge pit that we used to toboggan in. I had such an incredible childhood, and I'm just ever so thankful to you. To be honest, I got to say that because it's Mother's Day, Mom. You've been my rock. You've been my rock, that's for sure, through this life, and one of my dearest friends. And so I think we have to wrap it up. I think those are good stories, right?
I personally want to touch on a recent story where you chased or someone flipped you off at a red light. Okay. And I would like to hear that story from your perspective.
Yes. When I was speaking to Beckham and Jesse about you being my first guest, I said a story that you had told me that day that, I'll let you take it from here, Mom.
I was leaving your house and I was coming home on
dropping off something. She doesn't come in the house.
Right. And I was coming home on Kingsway, and it's a long street. It's very long and straight road. And I was going the speed limit, and there's a set of lights that cross a really busy intersection. Yeah. And I saw the light was green and then it turned yellow. And I thought, well, I've got enough time to cross. And I looked behind me.
And that can be crazy. Cars will go like jetting across at the last minute.
Yeah. But anyways, so I was basically, I looked in my rearview mirror, and this car was right up to the back of my car. And I thought, she's not going to follow me across. It'll be a red light when she hits it. And she did. And so I just kept going. I was going the speed limit. And she all of a sudden gave me the finger. So anyways, as I'm looking in the mirror, I thought, okay, she followed me, and she shouldn't have, because that cross section is 80 miles an hour or 80 kilometers. So people could have really, whacked into her. Mm-hmm. But I looked in my rearview mirror, and I guess she saw me look in my rearview mirror because she was right up my butt in the car. and she gave me the finger. And then all of a sudden, a few feet later, she took off and she passed me. And then as she passed me, she had to slow right down again. It's 60 kilometers an hour there because there was a car in front of her.
And it's dangerous. You have a canal beside you.
Yeah, it's plain dangerous, but she didn't have to give me the finger. But anyway,
No.
So I just thought about it as I was driving, and I'm thinking, what should I do about this? She was wrong. I was doing the speed limit. I went on an amber light. She shouldn't have followed. And I thought, you know what? All of a sudden, she had to slow down because there were railroad tracks, and she was right up the butt of this next car. So I sped up, and I went right behind her. And I thought, I think I'm just going to follow her home and see where she lives, not knowing what I was going to do yet. And so I did. I followed her home, and then she slowed right down. And she kept looking. Yeah, she kept looking in her rearview mirror, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I was going to react, whatever,
Teach her a lesson.
So I followed her right into her driveway, and she sat in the car for a while looking at her rearview mirror thinking, oh my God, what's going on? There's this old lady behind me. And she got out, and I got out right away. And I just asked her, I said, hey, why'd you give me the finger? I didn't give you the finger. I said, yes, you did. I said, you did. And as she started walking away, I guess she thought I was going to go at her, but I wasn't. But I said, look, I would like to know why you gave me the finger. I was going the speed limit. You sped across the lights, and basically she just walked really fast into her house, and that was it. And I don't think she'll give anybody else, especially a gray-haired old lady, a finger again.
Well, it is your 75th year, and I find, it's time to just teach people lessons one day at a time, eh, Mom?
I guess I just react really fast. Because remember,
I don't know what that's all about.
Remember when that kid threw his garbage out when we were at McDonald's?
That was awful. That was just simply awful. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and Sky saw the look, and she was like, "Oh, what's Grandma gonna do right now?"
But I just reacted. I didn't think ahead. I just thought, you don't just throw your whole bag of garbage right there in the parking lot.
No.
And I thought afterwards, oh man, there were 4 scary-looking teenagers in that car. But at the time, I didn't even think about that, right?
Mom, I don't know if I ever told you this story when I was living in Toronto, and I went onto a bus, and I was part of Litter Free Thunder Bay for a little while and sang the jingle, and so garbage really irritates me too. And that same day, I totally had your back when they dumped all that garbage out. So this particular moment, there was a grandmother with her grandson, and they sat on the chair right in front of me, and I watched the grandmother beckon the grandson for his ticket after they sat down, and she grabs it, kind of rips it up. What's the point of ripping it up anyway? And then she chucks it out the window, both his ticket and hers. And I was so angry. I thought, you're doing that, but you're teaching your grandson to do that. And I couldn't bite my tongue. And I thought at that moment, what would my mother do? And so I said when I was leaving the bus, and it took me a while, that nervous feeling when you want to say something and your voice is kind of trembling. And when I left, I said, "Excuse me, ma'am." And she looked at me and she said, "Yes." And I said, "I witnessed what you did there when you took your grandson, I believe it's your grandson's ticket, and you threw them out the window." And I said, "That's not a good lesson to teach your grandson." I said, "Garbage is a huge problem in the world." And I said, that really, really made me mad. And I just have to tell you that's wrong. And she actually looked up at me and she said, I'm sorry. And she looked at her grandson. She said, I'm sorry. And I said, "Okay, great. Have a good day." And I ran off the bus.
Yeah, that's good. That was good that she at least recognized it, because you said it in a calm voice, That makes all the difference, right?
Well, and so did you, even though you probably drove like a mad woman
just to catch up to her. Just to catch up to her. She slowed down really fast. It was really funny. I thought, oh, she's fine.
I'm wondering if she noticed like beforehand that you were following her and wondering who is this lady and why is she following me?
She did.
Right?
She did because I wasn't going to do anything, Beckham, and I was like 5 car lengths behind when she passed me. And I thought, oh, no. And that's when I sped up and caught right up to her. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And
so she knew.
She knew.
My mom's a good driver.
Then she slowed down and she drove so nice and easy all the way home, wondering when I was going to leave her, right? I went right into her yard behind her. She pulled in her.
It's like as if she ran a stop sign and there was a cop following.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it taught her a lesson because she was really out of control. I mean, you know, when you're young and you drive stupid, I've done stuff myself, but
hey, well, Mom, didn't somebody once make a citizen's arrest on you or something for a banana peel out a window?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, we were driving down the expressway and I threw a banana peel out the window. Marlene was driving and I threw my banana peel out the window, which I shouldn't have, right? Mm-hmm. And a guy pulled us over. And he said, if you don't go pick up that banana peel, I'm going to report you. I'm going to make a citizen's arrest.
I don't think I've ever seen or heard anyone making a citizen's arrest.
Well, he was going to, and Marlene and I felt so guilty because we did it, right?
So it's not a thing? I can't just make a citizen's arrest?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But I went up and picked it up.
But I think it's just so threatening, like.
Well,
right?
Yeah, and for sure. So that could have catapulted this whole experience. Who knows, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that taught me a lesson.
Yeah.
Because I thought, I can't argue with him. I did say to him, it's biodegradable. I did say that. And he said, yeah, but it's still garbage and you're throwing it out on the road and you shouldn't do that. And so I didn't argue with him. I went and picked it up.
Wow. That's,
Yeah, in Canada, any ordinary citizen can arrest anyone who has committed a criminal act.
Really?
I don't know. Is that still true too?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is October 28th, 2020.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but how do you go about doing that? Like, I have some bungee cords in my trunk.
I don't know.
Start carrying handcuffs in your car.
I think what you're supposed to do is, like, call the police afterwards, I guess, and then...
Yeah.
That's right. He could have taken my license plate, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did call the police a couple years ago when I saw a woman driving one of those motor scooters, and you know the kid little trailers that they pull behind bicycles. Usually, they had this attached to a motor, one of the mopeds, and they were going on the QEW. One of the busiest highways where transport trucks just zoom. And
the one of the busiest, I think it's been the busiest highways in the world at some point.
And there were 2 kids in the back. Is that not insane? Like how fast do those go? 50?
I remember you telling me that story. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, I called the cops and I'm hoping something was done about it. Yeah. So, well, we could just go on and on and on and on. So, Mom, would you like to come back one show, perhaps?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think you still have a few stories up your sleeve.
Oh, I have a few. There's some I won't tell.
Oh, I know. I've been trying to get them out of you for years. Well, is there anything else you would like to add to this podcast, Mom? Not
really. I can't think of anything at the moment except that I'm just realizing I got more stories than I knew I had. But I guess when you live for near 75 years, you get a lot of stories.
Well, I think we should just do this again. You can start maybe taking a book and just jotting down little snippets here and there of things you might want to touch for future episodes. I think that everybody has a storyteller in them. And for me, this podcast is about celebrating that and hopefully even expanding my storytelling and interview skills through this, right? It's a transformation, but I think it's so important to just connect with people and put all those puzzle pieces together. And it's the perfect time to be able to do that because we're isolated at home, and why not? Why not?
It is a perfect time.
Yeah.
And everybody has stories that need to be told for sure.
Well, what a fantastic, and I'm going to say fantastic again because I realized through these recordings, it's my favorite word. That was a fantastic interview. Thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.
Well, Mom, it has been a pleasure. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I was waiting for the word fantastic.
If you can't laugh at yourself, huh?
Okay, are you going to end this now so I can go eat?
All right. Bye.
Bye.
I love you.
I love you more.
Oh, I love when she says that.
I try
That was Electric Wildlife with their beautiful song, Climbing Mountains. Oh, and we have a special guest here today with us, Emily Andrews of Electric Wildlife. Thank you for joining us on Your Stories, Emily.
Thank you for having me, Rita.
It's pretty great. And I heard that song last summer in your backyard, and it brought me to tears. And I'd have to say, since you shared it with me, I think it was 2 days ago now, I've had it on repeat, and I cry every time.
I think I unintentionally write them sad. I never try to make them sound sad. And then as I get into it, I'm like, man, this is sad. But I like the feel, I don't know why. I gravitate toward sad sounding songs.
Well, the thing is, Emily, the one thing about you that I admire so much is that you have no facades and you get right to the heart of it all. And you just say it like it is. And I feel like, to me, those are my favorite songwriters. I'm a huge fan of Lucinda Williams. And I feel like it's simplistic perfection to me, and it digs down deep. And so I appreciate it so. And I'd love to know how this song came about.
Yeah, this was usually, I think most of the time when I'm writing a song, very rarely am I like sitting down and thinking, okay, I'm going to write a song about this situation or, tell a specific story. Sometimes that happens, but not often. So with this song, like most of the songs I write, I came up with like the hook kind of like I'll have a melody and a line, and then that's all I'll have. And it's enough that I'm like, well, this sounds interesting. And then you have to flesh it out. So that's what happened with this song was I had the lyric, I'm climbing mountains, you're weighing us down. And I had that melody in my head. And then it just kind of grew from there. So I started writing it. And then when I got stuck, I was very lucky to have Nathaniel come in and help me with the chord progression and with some of the lyrics. So that's how it kind of unfolded.
Your voices blend so beautifully together. And Nathaniel is known around Niagara as I'd have to say, and I've heard it from many mouths, that he's the most beautiful male
for sure
harmony singer around.
Oh my God.
He does add a special kind of magic.
It's so true.
To whatever song.
When I had been working on this song and I kind of had the chords and all that. So I had enough that I could jam it to myself and work with it and figure it out. And as soon as he came in and like he heard enough of it to know what the words were, he started harmonizing with me, and I almost like dropped the guitar. I was like, oh my God, you just made this song sound like a 4 to like a 12, like off the charts. It just sounds so much better when he's harmonizing, no doubt.
Well, I think you two are a perfect combination, and it's lovely to see how you've influenced each other's art through the years. This show to me is about connecting and having conversations with some of the most beautiful people that I've connected over the past while. It's the history of my life and the beautiful souls that have come in and out. And I just,
I'm so lucky.
You're one of these
so
people.
Too.
Obviously, you're on my first show. Emily, every time I talk to you, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like you and I giggle and I connect to something in my inner
Rita.
child.
Like, you're easy to hang out with. You're easy to talk to. You're cheerful and hilarious. So.
Well, and we've had quite the history. It's been about 13 or 14 years.
No.
Yeah, believe it.
No, there's no way it's been that long. Hold on.
Emily, I did the math.
No, 2009.
Well, I moved here when Sky was a baby.
That can't be true.
And she's going to be 14.
That can't be true.
And I met you in my first year here. Yeah, it's true. And remember?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to paint a picture for you of one of the first times that I knew that I wanted to get to know you more. We were at a music festival at Mount Carmel, and you had an art booth set up, and I was playing on that beautiful stage
Yep.
where it was leading into the church, I believe. Up at the top of the staircase, there were big wooden doors behind. And I was nervous at the time. I was somewhat new to Niagara, I hadn't played many covers around, and I was playing an Elvis Costello song.
Oh yeah, I love
Peace,
when you
Love,
play
and
that
Understanding.
one.
Yeah.
No one plays it either.
Emily, you ran through the long grass in bare feet and gave me just so much oomph at the time. And I just remember you just stood there in appreciation with,
Rita.
well, you have a smile that can light up any room. And you've been alongside me through many projects, actually. I'm going to name a few here. We were in a film together.
Right. The
for a
Super
little
Bowl
while where
lasagna
I
commercial.
acted as your mother.
Yeah. Well, because when I was trying to find a photo of myself, I had a picture of my university graduation, and I didn't want to be there because it was the third day of our Super Bowl lasagna shoot, and I had finished shooting, but I still wanted to be on set. So my parents made me go to my graduation, and the second it was over, I went right back to the set to hang out because it was so much fun.
Oh, it was so much fun. I don't know what was more fun, being on camera or behind the scenes. Yeah. We had a lot of good laughs there. And then we were also in the Peace Project together. I remember I had one music show where you accompanied me for the first time singing harmonies, and you painted a chair on the stage. And that was just so beautiful. I just remember you saying, "Yeah, I'll come with you and I'll sing harmonies." But I'm painting. Is that because you're multitasking,
right? It's true. I'm like, well, I mean, I'll contribute, but I got to get some work done still. It goes. Yeah. When I look back and think about some of the stuff I've multitasked, it's just insane. There's a photo someone took of me. I'm trying to remember who took it back when Sea of Gold and Burgundy was playing. They were playing a show at the Office in St. Catharines. Yeah, we were listening to them today.
I love that band.
But I was trying to I was at the show to see them, but I was also trying to do homework, and I was taking a classical music course at Brock, and someone took a photo of me sitting in front of the stage reading a book, and the book is called The Enjoyment of Music. So I'm like reading my textbook in front of a live concert. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Wow, you can really focus, can't you?
No,
and shut things out.
I don't think so. That's what I mean. I'm doing it half-assed. Like, it's not. I don't know if I'm.
Well, Emily,
I should pick one.
So just so everybody knows, you are an amazing singer-songwriter. We've just witnessed. You are also not just an artist of painting chairs while you sing harmonies, but you are an incredible visual artist.
Thank you.
We're going to share all of your handles on our platforms for people to see your beautiful mixed media pieces and gorgeous, gorgeous oil paintings, right? It's oil is your medium.
Oil, yep.
You've also taught
at
Niagara College.
Yep.
And you are also an actress.
Occasionally,
obviously.
Yeah.
And you're an animal activist.
That's my main passion, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can tell. Also, you did sing on my album.
I was going to say, for sure. We had, that was a really fun album release in Crystal Beach.
Yeah, you and Nate were in the band. And most recently, then you also joined Minuscule.
Yeah.
A band that I'm so honored to be in.
Me too.
Super incredible. And guess what?
Band.
She's going to be on another show.
Nice.
What projects are you working on right now? After all of that said, you are super multifaceted. What's next for Emily Andrews?
Right now, I'm finishing up a commission that's almost done, but I have a mural that I'm working on, like a Niagara Falls history mural that I got a grant to do, the Niagara Falls Cultural Development Fund grant. So I'm going to be a collage of just images from Niagara Falls history. So like authentic historical photographs and that of Niagara, and put together some kind of cool piece and then blow it up and make a mural. So that'll be my next, that's my next big project that I'm working on.
And do you know where they're going to be displayed, or?
It will be on display at a couple places throughout the year, like at the Niagara Night of Art. It'll be on display there, and at the Art Walk on Queen Street.
Awesome.
And then after that, it will be somewhere on Queen Street permanently. I don't know exactly yet, but apparently, I don't know if someone will take it. If there's a building owner that's like, yeah, I'll put this up.
And last year, your installation was
Oh
really
God,
great.
I had so much fun with
Can
that
you tell us about that?
I was very much out of my wheelhouse. I'm not a video performance artist by any means. Like, I act, but that's a different thing. So I was kind of just, it was a shot in the dark. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try something new. And I decided to publicize a very secret habit of mine in an artistic way. And the habit is that I often start my day by making very weird faces in the mirror at myself, or just randomly throughout the day, like when the mood strikes me. And I've done it for so long, but it brings me joy, and it kind of like calms me down a little bit, and it's very, very fun. And I recommend it, and you don't have to do it in front of anybody, but just get in the bathroom by yourself and make faces in the mirror.
I have a feeling, since you shared that secret with Sky, and of course she saw the installation. Sky is my daughter, for those that don't know. I don't know. She spends a lot of time in the bathroom. And she's laughing.
People were coming out of the woodwork and being like, I do this too. Like, there are people out there. I don't know if it's a lot, but they're out there. Because I had a couple people comment and say, I'm not the only one. Like, I think for actors, it's probably not that weird. Like, that's a pretty standard exercise, just to exercise your face in that. And actors do all kinds of weird stuff, like yelling and tongue twisters and that. So I think that's kind of where it comes from, is probably my background in drama. But yeah, I made a fun video of me, just like, it's like a 9-minute video of me making the weirdest faces. And if you want to watch it, it's on my website, and you can laugh at me. Oh yeah, it's there for your entertainment. Like, I'm like, people can laugh at me and see how ridiculous I am.
And I have that. It is emilyandrews.ca.
I wanted to represent.
Good girl, good Canadian girl, huh? So that is great that people can still watch that, because that was my next question. And I think it is important. I grew up with my mom telling me to get in touch with your inner child, to look into the mirror and connect with it. And that brings it to a whole new level. It really does.
I don't know. There's no ego in that. You're just trying to look as stupid as you possibly can. And it reminds me not to take myself very seriously, and just to have fun, or just try to cheer myself up with stupid faces. And it does usually work. I don't know. It kind of relieves stress in a way.
It does. And I'd have to say that night, I think you really inspired Sky, because you have a way of, just like I said, in layman's terms, talking to people, and you connected with her to, for one, not let her stress about school.
Oh,
you gave her some really good motherly advice there, So I know that Beckham and Jesse have been itching to ask you a question as well through this interview. So I'll let you guys take it from here, because they discovered something about you that they really do want to know more about.
Well, one, I wanted to say I really, really like your art. The surreal. I really like that Ahead of Time one.
Thank you.
Hey, I have that on my fridge.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, it's just a print. I don't have a painting. Well, someday I'll buy the painting. Is that one still available, Emily?
I think it is. It's right now. It's being rented at an ophthalmology clinic, I think, in Thorold. But it is available, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
And my silly question was, why don't you like watermelon?
Oh my God, Rita, did you tell them this? Oh.
I did. When I was telling them all about you.
Oh no.
And
I'm gonna get hated on big time. I'm gonna lose any kind of fans that I might have had.
Kind of
people are gonna be like, oh my God, unfollow Emily. She doesn't like watermelon.
She doesn't like watermelon.
Okay.
Well, it's not just you though.
Well, no, my brother also doesn't like water. Okay, so I know that
what
we're
happened to you guys?
we're pariahs, right? Like, did we get dropped on our heads or what? I have nothing against watermelon, and I understand it's super popular. I know everyone likes it. I know that everybody except me and my brother like watermelon. Like I said to Rita, my family loves watermelon. That's how it was known that we don't, because everyone else eats it. I don't really like the texture of it very much, and then the flavor is just not. I don't like the flavor enough that I can get over the texture of it. Like, I'll eat it if it's there and if it's right. No, I probably wouldn't, to be honest with you. Like,
No.
If it was okay, if it was like somebody offered it to me and it felt like I was going to be rude. Like, if Rita, you offered it to me, I know you well enough that I'd be like, no, thank you. But like, if
Thank goodness.
someone's
I love a girl who speaks the truth.
Well, yeah, but if it's like someone I barely know or somebody I don't want to offend or something, like, it's not like I'll throw up if I eat it. I just don't really enjoy it. But I don't really like melons in general. I don't like honeydew. I don't like cantaloupe. I've tried them. They're not my favorite, but I love fruit. I love peaches.
Would you eat a Jolly Rancher watermelon candy?
So watermelon candy is delicious. It's a great, it's like an amped up watermelon flavor.
Okay,
and
that's good.
To me, it's not even watermelon.
It's not that really I have a problem with the flavor of watermelon, but when you eat a regular watermelon, one, the texture is kind of weird. And two, it tastes like a watered down version of watermelon. Like, it's very diluted. Whereas the candy is it's very, sweet and flavorful. I like the flavor. And then there's always the fear
of swallowing a pit and having a watermelon grow in your stomach.
Oh my God, I was told that as a kid. And yeah, that did trouble me when I was younger. I mean, that's not obviously the reason why I don't eat it now, because I know that won't happen. I bet not. But it didn't help as a kid.
Okay. All right. I won't mention watermelons, and I'll just know for the next campfire not to bring them.
No, because everybody else there would probably be like, oh, watermelon, great. Like, everyone else likes it.
And so the other story is that I would really like to hear about the story of your dad running you over with a car.
Oh my God. These are the only two things that got mentioned. And now it's like, okay. You want to hear the story of how it happened? Like, it wasn't necessarily a light car, but it was also luckily the back end of it. So I'm assuming it would be lighter than the front. It still was pretty heavy for my leg, I think. My 11-year-old leg. The story there, though, it was in the summertime, and I was like 11, like I said. And a couple days prior, me and my dad and my brother were building like a go-kart. It's like a push go-kart. So somebody sits in it and you kind of steer it with your feet. Like, the front axle of it moves back and forth, so you can steer it with your feet. And
I always wanted a go-kart.
Yeah, well, they're fun until they're not, I guess. But someone stands behind you with like a broom handle and they push it and then you steer it. So it's fun, right? And it was me and my brother and two of my friends. And we were taking this thing, we had finished building it, we painted it and everything. We were taking it just around the block over and over. We're all taking turns. And for I don't know how long, hours, we're just going around the block over and over. And then we're 10 houses up the street from my house. And my dad was in his truck and he was leaving to go drop something off at his work. So while he was driving down the street and he saw us, he slows down, and he rolls down the window, and like across the car, because I'm on the right-hand side of the road, he's yelling at me through the window, and we're joking about like, hey, I'm going to race you, right? Like, we're just laughing and joking, but I'm really low to the ground, right? So he's kind of trying to yell at me through the window. So as he's like going to drive off, the go-kart hit like a bump or a rock or something, because the steering was very sensitive. And it just really quickly, all in a second, swerved under the back wheel of the truck. And the truck ran me over right from my knee to my ankle, like diagonally across, to the point where there was actually like tire tread marks on my leg, like a cartoon.
Oh my God.
Which my brother found hilarious. And it flattened my shoe. And Evan was laughing so hard. And my two friends were like mortified. They were like terrified something went wrong. Evan does not care. He's like,
well, it's siblings for you.
And he thinks it's funny. So then my dad immediately realizes what happened. I don't know if I was in shock, but it did not really hurt. And I was ready to stand up thinking like, oh, that actually didn't even hurt. And he's like, don't get up, because he was worried, obviously, that something was wrong.
He must have felt awful.
He felt so bad. But he, as I kind of later realized, because I was pretty young, he was in shock more than I was. And like, he was like going, like you could tell, he basically scooped me up, threw me into the truck, and then backed up the truck and went in reverse so fast that he went down the street and then ended up accidentally hitting our car that was parked on the side of the road because he was just so frantic.
No.
So my mom's on the porch and she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, get in the truck. We got to go to the hospital. And he's like, he was panicking far more than I was because he just probably felt terrible. And then they brought me to the hospital and I had a cracked ankle. And then a couple of days later, I had to have surgery on it. So now I have a screw in my ankle.
I had no idea you were bionic.
I am in a way, yes. I don't want to call myself like Iron Man, but pretty much.
Oh, I'm more like Iron Man. I have a robot heart.
Oh,
Jesse is a defibrillator.
Oh, that is a robot heart. That's not even like a fancy way of saying something. That's accurate.
Yeah, someday we'll hear about the day he died.
Oh,
another episode.
Wait, that's way more interesting. Why didn't we talk about that? That's way better.
I don't remember dying. I was dead.
Wow.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
We should have started with that.
We'll get there. You know, it's the
teaser. I can't wait for that episode.
Another teaser. And I was working with Jesse at the time. We worked at the print shop together.
Wow. So this wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago. And I was like, where's Jesse today?
Dying. He's busy dying.
That's pretty much what he said when he came back.
Oh my God.
Not too long after. It's interesting hearing people's trials and the things we've gotten over in life. Well, you guys, this is great. Thanks for sharing your stories. And I'd love you to come back on another episode.
For sure.
One of these, and possibly Nate. It would be funny to hear some of his stories.
He has, you're going to need a few episodes. He's got so many good stories. I make him tell me stories oh, yeah. He's just got really weird, interesting stories. The people in his life, I know all the characters from his childhood because of the stories, and I love it. I wasn't even there, but I love hearing about it.
Really?
Yeah. He's a good storyteller, and he's had a really kind of funny and interesting childhood too. So,
well, he was homeschooled too.
He was homeschooled, and he went to scouts, and he had the kids that he hung out with and stuff. There's just he's got a lot of good stories.
Oh my gosh.
He's good at making up stories too. Cause before bed, I'll be like, tell me a story. And I make him tell me stories, and they're always really funny and weird. And yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He's hilarious. Yeah.
So do you have any other exciting projects coming up, or do you want to tell people here where they can buy your prints, Emily, or pieces?
For sure. So, like I said, my website has a lot of my work on it. So you can see all the stuff that I've done, or you can inquire about any pieces you might be interested in. I'm pretty active on my Instagram account. So if you just want to keep in the loop with what I'm up to, follow me on Instagram. I have stuff for sale there through my Etsy shop. And
that's missms.emily.andrews.
Exactly.
Right?
Ms. Emily Andrews.
Ms. Emily Andrews. This is great. And I'll continue to give you some calls and leave you some voicemails, because I think you're the only person that saves my voicemails.
Please do. They're just really funny, and they make me smile. So it's nice.
Okay. Well, I'm always here for you, my friend.
Same, Rita. Same.
Okay. I love you.
I love you too.
Okay. You have a fantastic day, and I'm going to keep spinning that song. Well, that was something special. It's incredible what can happen when you have an idea, you throw it out there into the world, and then it sticks. Speaking of that, thanks for sticking around on this journey with me, guys.
Oh, no problem, Rita. It's been enjoyable.
It's been a lot of fun, hasn't it?
Yep, it was fun.
It still is.
And this
and this is our last episode, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, and good night. No, just joking. We're going to have more, obviously, because, well, at first these guys tried to convince me that the hour I thought the show was going to stick to was actually, well, they said, nah, that's not going to happen, Rita. Like, it's definitely going to be more than an hour.
And here we are, approaching the 2-hour mark.
And here we are approaching the 2-hour mark.
Because I remember sending you an email. I was like, so how long do you want it to be? And I think you said like something like 45 minutes, because that was before we brought on the idea of having a musical guest, I think, where it was just the interview. I was like, there's no way. It's going to be like an hour, 20 minutes, and with the musical guest, right?
Well, who put a nickel in me? Hey, there's one of those old sayings we were talking about earlier. Hey, Jesse. I have my other business. It's a place where I record people's life stories, but I do it for longer periods. Most of the recording sessions are at the very least 4 hours long. So this was an interesting challenge for me because, I could have gone on and on and on asking questions, because once I really delve into somebody's life and their heart, I just want to know more. And there were even stories that my mom told that I had no recollection of. Well,
hopefully we can get your mom back on and maybe Emily on as a normal guest with a picture.
And that would be so great.
Yeah, and then your mom can be the musical guest with her accordion.
Oh, flip it around.
I grew up going to church with my mom and my dad sitting on either side of me. And my dad has a good voice, but my mom, no. But she will sing at the top of her lungs to the point where it is beautiful. It is so beautiful. I say, if you're going to sing, sing. Everybody should be singing. All that being said, we are going to release another show. We have a special guest. And Beckham, did you want to tell them about our next guest?
Well, we'll be staying on the theme of Mother's Day. We will be interviewing my mother.
And not only, well, I know I mentioned that she's one of my dearest friends, but it's kind of cute because when we all hang out on our adventures together, I sometimes pretend that I'm your mom, and Tiffany pretends that she's my daughter's mom. So It's completely up the alley of this Mother's Day celebration.
Exactly.
And so I think it'll be fitting. And she has some funny stories, doesn't she, Beckham?
Oh, yes. She has lots of funny stories. Legends, tales.
Tales. And I really think that we have to hear a story from Jesse, because I am curious about Disney World, not Land, Disney World.
Land. They're two different places.
They are.
Which one have you been to both? Because I wonder which one is worse.
Which one is worse? Why would you think of me negative right away with that? Like,
sorry, which one is better?
Horrific things about the Disney experience?
I don't know.
Well, lots of people are afraid of It's a Small World because you're trapped in a dark room with singing animatronics.
And a bunch of people as mascots everywhere.
It is a little scary.
Well, we could go on and on, obviously, but I think it's time to wrap it up. The one thing I do want to say to all of you mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. Oh my, it's the biggest job, the most rewarding job I've ever had in my life. My daughter has taught me to be a stronger person, and I strive for that daily. And she brings so much joy. So I just want to say thank you, Sky, for supporting me also with recording this podcast. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening. Thank you to Emily Andrews for coming on the show as well. Mom, my dear mom, thank you so much. And happy Mother's Day. I'll see you soon. Social distanced, of course. And I also just want to pay a special tribute to the fathers out there that are single dads. Happy Mother's Day to you as well. And I guess that's all I have to say. Is that a wrap?
That is a wrap.
Maybe a burrito.
Oh,
A
geez.
quesadilla?
It's Mother's Day, not Father's Day. You can't be making dad jokes.
Too late. All right, you guys. Thanks so much. And I love you guys too.
Aw. Happy
You don't
Mother's
have to
Day.
say it back. It's always awkward. It's always awkward.
Yeah, you can't just spring an I love you on you.
Yeah.
I know. Well, the first time I hugged Jesse, I think I don't know. I horrified you, huh?
I'm not a hugger.
No,
And
but you have.
and Rita, your hugs are like powerful, to say the least.
Are they?
I've
Do I just
noticed
really
that.
grab you?
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, I don't. I don't know, Beckham. Like Disneyland is horrific. Hugs are terrifying.
Well, it's not like a squeeze hug where it hurts. It's just like a sturdy hug.
You get a shiv at the end of the hug.
Yeah, no. Rita did not shiv me.
I don't even know what a shiv is. Should I Google that?
Well, how you need to go to prison then, Rita? That's what you used to stab somebody with, like you.
Oh my
Carve
God,
down
we
a
can't end the
toothbrush
show
to
on
stab.
this. Okay. All right. Rewind. I wish I could do a rewind sound effect there. Thank you, everybody. You're fantastic. Take the time to hear people's life stories around you, because I do believe that everybody is waiting for their phone to ring right now to hear from someone special and to delve into some stories. It's all feel good stuff. Anyway, bright days to all.